Yeah, my sense what inspired me to write it was a little episode that's been written about before, earlier in West Australian history. There's a couple of novelists have dealt with this episode when Matthew Flinders, I think it was 1801, so forgive my ignorance if I've got that date wrong, stopped at Albany, Princess Royal Harbour, King George Sound, for a couple of weeks, and there was, if you trust his journal, there was quite very friendly relationships between him and Noongar people. And as they left, Flinders decided to put on a performance, a military drill, had the Marines do a military drill on the beach. And apparently, as that was happening, there was one older Noongar man got on the end of the row of soldiers with a stick and was mimicking what the drill. And then 100 years later, early 1900s, early 20th century, Daisy Bates talks about a Noongar man performing a dance which is based upon that military drill, where they're ochred up, so they've got the Marines uniform and whatever you call it, presenting arms and all that sort of stuff. So I think the novel, That Deadman Dance, is partly about that Flinders dance and that appropriation. Was that a good thing, or is that a destructive thing? And the other aspect of That Deadman Dance is thinking about, along this south coast here, it's 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, Ice Age. So this is a culture that's lived through climate change, global warming, that sort of stuff. And so how do you react to a sailing ship coming in? They must be part of what's here, but they don't live or feel the same way as I think this is how Noongars may have, and this is part of thinking about it in a story. People sailing in, they must be part of the spirit of this place as well, but they seem dead. And then you think about what a military drill would look like on a beach, all those one will, people working with one will, and mechanically, and the loud noises and the shrieking of a flute. And so I just playing with it, I thought maybe that's a dead man dance. So I thought, if you continued that tradition, how would you write a novel of that early encounter? There's political imperatives now to do a resistance polemical thing and to assert identity, but those early Noongar would probably be really interested in how you could use the novel form to just be expressive and where you could get with telling a story like that, particularly using the point of view of non-Indigenous characters. So the idea of a novel that started with an Indigenous heritage, inspired by those early stories, being inclusive, generous, wanting to know how other people thought and to include them in your own sense of the world. How would you do that? How would they do a novel of those early encounters? Yeah, looking at it as a Noongar might look at stuff, looking at it as a Wadjala in those times might look at things, and so a reader is shifting around through that sort of wash of different voices and consciousness, and just to see where the story ended up. And I find the energy and the sort of juice in starting with trying to do a story like that's enough to sort of keep me going. And the risk of where you're going to end up politically with doing that is also, in a perverse way, that's an inspiration to me. My concern is, because of these political imperatives of our times, is you lose the strength of fiction, which is, it's richness, the layers, the ambivalences, what's going, provoking thought. I think someone said to me once, a book or a novel is a machine to think with. And I don't know how true that is, but for me that sort of resonates, particularly a story like stories I like and try to do is a way of thinking, especially thinking in ways that other tools or forms don't allow you. and the whole ambivalence, which in a political context people don't like ambivalence, one thing or the other, you're black or you're white. But I like the mix myself, and to make it as complex as possible and then find a way through that complexity.